it's over, let it go. 52 times a year, the week is done and over with before you know.
Thank you very much indeed. Hello, good evening and welcome. I am David Frost and That Was the Week That Was. Finally, after 60 years, the third series has finally arrived. After the first two series were cruelly cancelled by the BBC and the then Tory government of Harold Macmillan. Which brings us to our first news story this week. Online reported about a fleeing shoplifter who was snared by the police after ducking into a barber's for a haircut, despite being completely bald. It's rather like a vegan trying to hide in a butcher's, isn't it? The thief had stolen 16 bottles of hair products, the equivalent, I suppose, of a vegan stealing 16 meat pies. There were calls by the establishment for millions of us to take part in a homage for the people for King Charles and his coronation. This sparked a backlash as Republicans branded it offensive and a tone-deaf gesture. However, what do you get if you prostrate yourself too often? Prostrate cancer. There was no coronation respite for terrorists this week. The Mirror reported on a ban for terrorists stockpiling extremist texts with the rule on the maximum weight of books per cell. They are not allowed more than 2 boxes of terrorist manuals for each terrorist. As they say, you can never have too many terrorist manuals, can you? The ITV reported that due to cuts, Captain Birdseye has been demoted after 47 years. So say hello to able seaman Birdseye. Yo ho 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 ho. It never rains, but it pours. Ed Sheeran was left devastated this week after the death of his Irish grandmother, who inspired his smash hits. You couldn't make it up, could you? Well, I suppose Ed could. The eternal couple, Richard Madeley and Judy Finnegan, were in the Express this week, where Richard Madeley admitted Judy sleeping in the spare room over a pest problem. No, Richard is not the pest, it's his one-eyed trouser mouse that's causing problems again. The Metro reported that King Charles has a very specific request for Lord Andrew Lloyd Webber over his coronation anthem. It goes like this. Yes, fuck off Webber till you start playing all the right fucking notes and in the right fucking order. At Charles's coronation concert, you're not allowed to swear like that, sing or scream or orgasm. You're only allowed to hum along, but don't forget to eat the coronation quiche in case it starts to hum as well. The Times asked the French what they thought of the coronation quiche. It's a banal tart, said the French. Turns out the French were actually talking about Camilla. Only in New York, said the Mail, a bizarre moment when a cockroach scurried its way onto the Met Gala red carpet before being nearly squashed by a photographer. Yes, it was James Corden making an appearance. It was the only way he could get in. Nice costume, James. President Joe Biden also floored James Corden with a savage joke about his career. He summed him up thus: 1,200 shows in 8 years, but after a day spent working for me in the White House, I'm surprised you lasted 8 years in any job. Which is just what James Corden will say about him if he wins in 2024. This week, a beer can was launched to remind people of huge changes in the election voting rules. So, apparently the UK is the only country that needs a can of lager to explain to people how to vote. For the Lager Party, one presumes. Also proving that the working classes only understand things when they're pissed out of their tiny minds. In America, they've spotted something that we apparently don't care about. The king has definite ideas about food, but will we dig in? New York Times revealed that for breakfast, Charles requires a selection of 6 honeys, making Charles some kind of bee. Or perhaps these are the 6 honeys who are going to be ladies in waiting at the coronation. We love our beer in the UK, and now we can have beer made from recycled shower water. Is it the taste of the future? Said The Guardian. I'm not sure that we want beer made from shower water. Do they know what we do in the shower? Well, now you can taste it. Things are getting a bit tense surrounding the coronation. A man was arrested and a controlled explosion carried out at Buckingham Palace this week. The man responsible for the incident was carrying a book, The Happiness Advantage, about using positive psychology to enhance individual achievement. We can, however, presume that he hadn't actually read it. Whilst over in Holland, someone managed to get hold of Boris Johnson's photo ID, his driving licence, and apparently was arrested for suspected drink driving. Boris Johnson's fake Ukrainian passport. Well, everything else about Boris is fake, so why not? Even worse, apparently the Dutchman had used the fake ID to vote for Labour in the council election. Daily Mail announced a new role for the hardest working royal. Prince Anne has been made Colonel of the royal household by King Charles, Buckingham Palace confirmed. What indeed is Colonel of the royal household? Perhaps it's being in charge of the washing up, which entitles her to the order of the pots and pans and wearing a silly hat at the coronation. We learned that Lionel Richie had made a huge blunder while meeting Queen Camilla at the royal garden party. Far-right libertarian deep state Lionel Richie has got awarded the Order of the Top Hat because one presumes of his services to the game of Monopoly. Whilst over in America there was a mystery. Who had dumped hundreds of pounds of pasta and why? We Brits remain convinced that it's Brooklyn Beckham making a mess of another spaghetti bolognese. However much you wish, Liz Truss just will not go away. The Times quoted the mystery of Liz Truss and the missing bathrobe. Missing bathrobes, eh? Well, that's the nearest to the Order of the Garter that Liz Truss is going to get. The Order of the Bathrobe. The Daily Mail saw further benefits in the coronation this week. The coronation is the best advert for global Britain we've ever seen. Can you imagine the eBay adverts? Get your out-of-date customs, pomp, pageantry and royal memorabilia here. Send your orders to Buckingham Palace. The Guardian did a bit of journalism this week and found that Hunt and Braverman were amongst 5 in the cabinet earning thousands as landlords. So Rishi Sunak is suffering from falling votes and rising damp. I'm happy, Mr. Hunt. The grass is greener. The flowers are brighter. And do you know why? Horse manure, Miss Braverman, horse manure. Whilst in Wales, an ingenious vape company released coronation memorabilia-style vapes, thus enabling King Charles to give every vapour the finger. Which leads us to believe that we may expect Charles' finger sausages from his Dutchy farms anytime soon. The Daily Mail revealed why King Charles has such swollen sausage fingers. Sadly, some people will not touch his fingers unless he can prove they're vegan. To make matters worse, we know that Charles also has green fingers. In London, the Met Police blasted plans for a huge 2,000 capacity nightclub on a filthy industrial estate in Barking, and believed that partygoers would fall into ditches. And I suppose those who don't manage to fall into ditches will be raped by the Met Police. We learned from My London that King Charles's Cotswold Mansion Highgrove House has a steel-plated panic room and a blood bank. Just about what you'd expect from a man whose ancestors include Dracula, Vlad the Impaler. King Charles presumably likes to keep himself topped up with the blood of young virgins. The Sun showed us the Robocop and went on patrol with an AI police robot that would become the future of policing. They cost about £45,000 to build, but can be leased for as little as 60 pence an hour. About the same as Katie Price then. And most importantly, Robocop won't rape you. iNews wrote what Shakespeare can tell us about the coronation. Yes, indeed, in Henry VIII, Shakespeare described Surrey bearing the rod of silver with the dove, crowned with an earl's coronet, collars of SS. That's funny, I didn't know they had the SS in the 16th century, so Harry could have dressed up for the coronation after all. It's a crazy old world we live in. Boris Johnson trousered £239,000 for a speech where he joked about his Partygate fine. £239,000? Well, I never. They could have got Michael Gove for less than a monkey, couldn't they? On Coronation Saturday, who else would we have wanted to read about but the Sex Pistols? Their surviving bass player has reworked God Save the Queen for the King. So that's God Save the King with his fascist G-string, I suppose.
God Save the King with his duly crafted G-string.
The Metro showed us cops in Wales responding to a fight in progress between two goats. The two goats had the last laugh, however, when they made sure the police were the butt of their jokes. Over in Ireland, they claimed that King Charles is a walking, breathing, polo-playing mascot for a gloomy world, whilst Mr. Blobby is a pink, walking, breathing mascot with sausage fingers on Britain's Got Talent for a gloomy television channel. Prime Minister for a day, Liz Truss, was at King Charles III's coronation, and apparently the jokes wrote themselves, so try this one. Photograph shows Liz Truss being arrested for stealing an orange bathrobe from Westminster Abbey. In a similar vein, The Sun wrote the touching keepsake that Prince Harry took from the coronation revealed. Just like Liz, Harry's got his hands on a couple of monogrammed bathrobes from Buckingham Palace to put in his suitcase for the flight back. The Star gave us a headline, Pengate 2, as King Charles's rueful expression shows unhappiness at his coronation signing. Doesn't any ruddy company do pens the size of sausages? God damn them. Whilst in the Express we saw a video of a naughty coronation horse going rogue with viewers asking, can he moonwalk? Whilst we ask, why do some horses have to wear fluffy Ugg boots? He was at it again. The man who threw eggs at the king was arrested at the coronation on suspicion of carrying eggs. Which reminds us of a famous record.
I am the ape man. I am the walrus.
Well, this has been David Frost on That Was the Week That Was. So goodbye, good evening, and see you next week.
That was the week that was. It's over, let it go. 52 times a year. The week is done and over with before you know.